Welcome everybody to the Buffalo Sabres San Jose Sharks pregame show. I am Duane from Two Goalies One Mic, joined by producer Steve from the show. Steve, big game tonight, coming up with a 3-2 loss to the LA Kings. A game I think we all expected to win, but we didn't. It happens. Whatever, not whatever, but we come into San Jose tonight. They're dealing with some issues with COVID. Have some guys out of the lineup, and I think the bigger story though for Buffalo is probably their best 5-on-5 player right now. Surprisingly enough, Victor Olofsson also out of the lineup.
Yeah, I hear it's some sort of like day-to-day injury. I don't think it's anything like too debilitating or long-term like Middlestat, but kid needs a night off. I feel like we've been seeing it a lot more. This is like the first full season we've had since any bubbles or COVID anything. So I feel like some of these kids aren't quite as in shape as they have been historically. So I feel like I've been seeing a lot more injuries to start the year. Speaking of injuries, what the hell is going on in Vegas, bud? Everybody on that roster is just
they're dropping like flies, buddy.
Every spoke is falling off the wheel of that wagon. Good Lord. Now Carlson's out 4 to 6 weeks. That's insane.
But you want to know what? It's it kind of, I guess if you're Buffalo trying to, negotiate a deal with Vegas for, in a Jack Eichel trade, I mean, that kind of helps you a little bit, does it not? I mean, granted, Jack isn't going to be ready to play if he gets the surgery he chooses, probably for 2 months. That's probably I remember the timeline for him to rehab that injury is roughly 6 weeks. After the surgery, I think he could start rehabbing. So you're probably looking at like a 2.5 month time period. But I mean, they're out. What is it? Pacioretty's injured. Is it Pacioretty?
I believe it is Pacioretty. I believe Stone.
And now William Karlsson. Those are three major pieces of your team that out of the lineup. We got some comments here. Let's go Buffalo from Mateo. Love to hear it. We need at least 2 points out of these next 2 games on the road. I couldn't agree more with Paramat Pictures here. I love the name. And, longtime supporter here, Don Keith. I want to win and escape their COVID breath. And couldn't agree more. But, hey, we have Eakin back. Absolutely. Cody Eakin is back in the lineup. We'll get to the lines later. Last year we were injury riddled. Absolutely we were. We dealt with COVID as well. It's not a fun thing to go through. I personally have never had COVID, so I can't really, even begin to guess what that's like. But we do remember the 2 weeks COVID scare that Buffalo had that started with Ralph Kruger getting it, along with made its way through the lineup. And at that point, when they went into that COVID break, they were a game above 500, if I don't remember, and things were kind of looking like a little bit up, and then you went to COVID, and then we don't have to talk about what happened after that 18-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Jack Eichel herniated disc in his neck. Things never went Buffalo's way after that COVID break. So,
seriously.
Yeah. So a couple guys out of the lineup tonight for San Jose. Victor Olofsson out of the lineup for Buffalo. Just not a good situation for either team. But let's get right into the lineup. If you want to just drop us San Jose's lines right now, Steve, I know you have that cooking ready to go.
All right, just gonna double check, see if anything more. Nope, this is the projected lineup from earlier this afternoon. They're starting forwards, Couture at center with Eklund, of course, on one of the wings, Dahlin, Hurdle, Barabanov, and Balsers as the second line. Cogliano, Bonino, and Leonard for your third. And then the bottom sets, Pedersen, Weatherby, and N. Merkley. The defensive pairings, Ferraro, Brent Burns, Burns being Burns. And then 4 other guys I've genuinely never heard of in my entire life. Malak, Hataka, and then Magna, and R. Merkley. So I guess we got a little bit of an unsung Sedin thing happening in San Jose. I don't know who the Merkleys are, but excited to see what they're all about. And then, of course, the the Reimer Hill tandem. I'm not sure exactly which one of them is getting the start yet. They haven't made that knowledge known to me just yet. But I think with enough of the injuries in the lineup, I think they'd probably lead with their best foot forward, which I think in this particular scenario would be Reimer over Hill.
Yep. I would agree. Reimer's had a pretty good start. I think he's top 3 in, when it comes to save percentage right now. I know he's only played 3 games, but he's had a very good. I think it's probably one of the best starts to his career so far. I want to say like a 956 save percentage in those 3 starts, which is phenomenal. We get Anderson back in that tonight too as well. Projected Sabres lineups as of 7 hours ago. Reading this from Mike Harrington, we have Cousins centering Skinner and Hinostroza, Thompson centering Asplund and Kajula, Eakin back in the lineup because we said before centering Gergensons and Okposo. There goes and then Rustalainen centering Bajork and Hayden. So Paramat pictures Hayden will be in the lineup, not Brett Murray. Murray was the extra. And Don Keith, who wouldn't love to see a tilt? I mean, I don't know. We saw last a couple nights ago with Dylan Cousins and that 4:00 start.
Him and Lemieux again.
Yeah, a lot of people were kind of like, he shouldn't be the guy doing that. Where's our tough guy that's in the lineup? What's the point of having Murray in the lineup if he's not going to be like that? Was kind of like in the moment type thing. I don't think Murray was on the ice. And
I mean, he was on the ice, but he was on the opposite end of the ice as punches were already being thrown. The only way you intercede there is being the third man, guaranteed penalty. And also, there's just a code. Like when 2 people are dropping the gloves, like a third man doesn't just jump in and start.
And that's an automatic. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I think it's an automatic 10-minute penalty. Third man in.
Oh, absolutely. That's not a penalty you need to take.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I mean, Cousins is going to answer the bell. You don't want to see him get himself hurt in a situation like that, and especially against a really a bigger guy. But it's in a heat of the moment. He finished his check and he had to answer the bell with Lemieux, former Sabre, former draft pick Brendan Lemieux. Not a very tough customer.
Counterpoint to all of that, I know people don't want our talent players, our guys with the good hands throwing punches, but let's not forget that when push comes to shove, a lot of times in Colorado, Nathan McKinnon is the one dropping the gloves to defend
Gabriel
his
Landeskog too.
And he is a top talent guy on that team. So, sometimes you can't just hope that the guy who's going to be the bruiser is out there. Sometimes you just got to get the job done yourself. So while, your whole roster shouldn't be built around that, and sometimes you got to fight your own battles, and it's nice to know that there's somebody on the team who's not just who's gonna finish a check, and then when somebody just starts swinging at him, he's not just gonna shy away from it.
Yep. And you know what? I remember Landeskog's draft year. We had no shot at him, but I really wanted Landeskog. The guy was an absolute stud, and I think he was in junior hockey. All the highlights were him scoring goals and fighting, not turning down, not always answering the bell. He was a big kid, tough customer. I loved Gabriel Landeskog early on in his career, man. That kid earned the C on his jersey. It was kind of, I was a little in disbelief. I know he wanted to get paid, but I was in a little disbelief it took Colorado as long as they did to pay him. But with that being said, just again, this is a game I think you got to win if you're Buffalo, even without Olofsson in the lineup. It's tough to see them not coming out of here with at least 1 point. With Anderson and net, and Tokarski's not to blame for that 3-2 loss, by the way. Tokarski had a great game. I think, you had a good first period, you had a meh second period, and then the third period was, your worst period of the game. They just really couldn't get things going there in the third period to get back in that game. You went up with a 2-0 and you gave up 3 goals. So, I mean, Tokarski wasn't to blame for that. And sometimes, working hard can only get you so far in the game of hockey. Sometimes you need that's where I think if you had those high-end talented players, and not saying that LA has those. I mean, they do have Anze Kopitar. They have Iafallo. Iafallo is a phenomenal player. I love watching him play. It's just that's where you need players like that to step in when you're struggling to get you a goal or two here and there. And Buffalo just doesn't have that right now.
Yeah, I think it wasn't necessarily what we've seen of the Sabres in the past years, but it was one of those outings where they didn't show up to play a full 60 minutes of hockey, and it bit them. You know, they could have potentially held on to overtime, tried to or forced overtime, get that 1 point out of it. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the West Coast chime change. Maybe they're just not an afternoon game team. I don't know what it is, but it just wasn't their after. I can't say it wasn't their night because it was 1 in the afternoon in Los Angeles. It just wasn't. It just wasn't their day. It was the Bills' day.
Yeah, obviously things were a lot more lopsided. Maybe not in the first half for the Bills, but in the second half, the Bills took over the pace of the game and really took it to Miami. And I do agree, the Sabres did seem complacent in that game. I don't expect it to be something you see throughout the season, not with Don Granato at the helm. You know, he's the type of coach that when he's not afraid to switch things around. He likes to go with what's working, and he's not the type of guy when he sees things getting complacent, which is what Ralph Kruger did. He would still stick the same lines out there. He wouldn't really change things up. Whereas Donnie, when he sees complacency, he's going to address it almost immediately with in-game changes and whatnot. So I have to agree that you're probably not going to see him allowing that to happen very often. Which was what I love about Granato. Your defensive pairings too are Darlene's, still with Butcher, Bryson and Miller, Hag and Pissick. So not a whole lot of change with the exception of Eakin going in and Olofsson coming out in the lineup. And again, as we said earlier, Anderson looking to keep building off what he started so far here in Buffalo, which has been a great start to his Buffalo Sabres career at 40 years old. Which I'm still in disbelief how well he's been playing at his age. Granted, he didn't get a lot of action last year. I think he played 4 or 5 times with Washington, but still, like the start he's had has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very surprised to see Craig playing the way he's playing, given his age. But I mean, I think that age is kind of his strongest asset right now. He's been around the league long enough that we've been talking about it, that he's not making those like superhuman saves, but like he's been playing this position for so long, he knows where he needs to be. He's working smart, not hard. He's always in position. He's always on it. You know, and a lot of the goals that I've seen get past him, they're never like those like easy gimmies where it's like, you should have stopped that. It's the one where it's somebody's right there on that post unguarded, and there's no possible way that any human being's going to leap all the way across the ice in the millisecond it got passed over. Like, those are saves that the greats, even in their prime, are probably not going to make. And if they do, it's a highlight reel save for the next 30 years of sports highlights. So that's right. I really did not expect to be saying that like Craig Anderson is like as good as he is this far into this way in this season, but my goodness, Craig Anderson. Yeah. Thank you, Craig.
If Craig does well for the rest of the year and UPL doesn't, can you see Craig coming back next year? Honestly, and I hate to say this because I like seeing Craig Anderson in a Sabres uniform. I've liked him for a long time, going back to his days with Ottawa. The guy battles. I love the way he plays. If Craig Anderson continues to play like this, and this team kind of finishes where you'd expect them to finish, which is you're probably still finishing in the bottom of the league. Let's be real. I mean, as much as I love the way they're playing, that they don't quit. They play for each other. They play as a 5-man unit, which is something again we haven't seen in a long time in Buffalo. I could definitely see Craig Anderson being a guy at the deadline that gets dealt to a team who needs, stability in their lineup when it comes to goaltending. Not say as a starting goaltender, but as insurance for in case one of their guys goes down. That I can definitely see. I don't like saying it, but I could see that happening. Him being a bargaining chip at the deadline, because this team is young and they're looking for youth, not aging players. Which is why with the Jack Eichel trade, you see them holding out for the young prospects, the picks. And Kevin Adams isn't settling for anybody. That's not. He's not settling for whatever these teams are offering. That isn't, what he believes Jack Eichel's value is. And there were other rumors that came out yesterday that Korpisalo out of Columbus might be available, or should be available, honestly, with the way Elvis Merzlikins is playing. I just don't. I remember we had Jean-Luc Renpierre on the show the first time, and I said that I definitely see one of those two guys getting dealt. I think Korpisalo is probably odd man out. I actually saw a funny tweet too. He said, bringing in a goalie who made 85 saves in a loss is probably the best fit for him in Buffalo, because he's going to see a lot of that. Maybe in the last couple of years with those teams where you're not going to get the goal support all the time, but I don't think with the Donnie Granato coach team. But it was kind of a funny tweet. Goalie makes 85 saves, still lose 1-0. Sounds like Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, I think the defensive security is going to come back once Dahlin going to get back on his left side. He's playing with a hand tied behind his back, which we've seen a few flubs. It's nowhere near to the Ralph Kruger levels of keeping that big dog on a leash, just completely restrained, anemic kind of play that we saw like in the worst of it. But there have been some mistakes, and surprisingly, the pairings in that defensive core that have gelled well together and seem to always know where the other one is on the ice is the Bryson Miller Pizik Hag combo. And I really didn't see Hag being that guy, but honestly, I like him in the third spot, and I think that's the fundamental difference between what we had in Risto. Someone of like a similar skill level. He's not a stud. He should be your third pair guy, but we were giving him top minutes, and we were wondering why we were suffering defensively. Meanwhile, we get Hag back in a trade for him, and we put him exactly where Hag belongs. And guess what? He's doing well. He's not making bonehead mistakes. He's finding his partner. He's back when he needs to be back. He's holding line when he needs to hold the line. He's making smart plays.
I liked Hag's game a lot.
Yeah, he's playing the way that Bogosian was playing when he got dealt to the Lightning, and he's like, I am playing for a cup contender team. I can't fuck this up. Yeah. I cannot do anything stupid like I did in Buffalo.
Well,
this is like my one shot.
He's getting a lot of opportunity with Buffalo too, which I'm sure he's doing his best to take advantage of. Some more comments here, from those that are watching. Don Keith, I actually see us trading UPL. I actually agree. As a goalie, one of the most important parts of your body are definitely your knees and hips. He's had lower body injuries. He had double hip surgery. Not an easy thing to overcome. So I could definitely see them dealing UPL, especially, again, as she said, with Levi and Portillo coming up. They're still a couple of years away, at least two, I would say.
They are playing so hot, though.
Yeah, Portillo looks phenomenal. Good. Levi looks phenomenal.
4 shutouts in 9 games so far. Is that the stat? That's like insanity. I know it's college hockey, but that's still insane.
And then Portillo playing in the Big Ten. Every single team he's playing against is a top end college team, and he's playing phenomenal well. I know they just lost to Wisconsin the other night, but he had a shutout. It might have been a shutout the game before that. I can't remember who it is against. It was his first college shutout. He only played a handful of games last season behind Man Strauss. But yeah, I could definitely see him dealing UPL with the history, and especially if he doesn't really start to reach his potential in Rochester this year, I could definitely see him being a guy that gets dealt, without a doubt. Maybe, again, from Paramat Pictures, maybe down the road this year, if he is not moving. Yep. I agree. I just don't see Anderson being dealt. I mean, again, teams look for sure insurance at the deadline, and if they're dealing a pick that's good enough where Kevin Adams is like, you know what, this team isn't a playoff team. I have an opportunity maybe to pick up a 3rd round pick that maybe I could use or flip into something else. Maybe use that to trade up into a back up into the 2nd round. I think that's the wise move, and I love Craig Anderson. If you search my handle with the name Craig Anderson, or you'll see a lot of tweets from the past where I am very high on him. I actually wanted Craig Anderson the previous year to play alongside Linus Ullmark. because I just felt like as a mentor role and as a backup, I thought he was the perfect fit right there for him. And now we have him as our starting goaltender. I don't know if slow is accurate, but he is caught out of position having to chase back. I think that's in reference to Rasmus Dahlin. I mean, I think that's more on the mental side of things. He's making mental errors, and he's just caught behind the play. But the thing is, Rasmus Dahlin is a guy I'm not too worried about. I know how high his ceiling is. He took a bridge deal for a reason because he's betting on himself, and I think he's gonna reach that ceiling. I really do. The points are gonna come. I think he's got 4 points in 6 games, which doesn't blow you out of the water, but he is a defenseman. And he's being asked to handle a much bigger role this year on a team that's without a doubt rebuilding. He's playing 25 minutes a night at the very minimum. And Don Granato is asking him a lot of him. He's on the first power play unit. I'm pretty sure he's getting some penalty kill time. He's asking to play in all situations right now.
It's a tough order to make for a kid who's only 21 years old. What's this? Is like his 3rd season? He came in at 18, right? Like we drafted him, he just immediately came into the fold. So I think that this is maybe his 4th season. Let me double check that. I don't want to talk out of school. But this is his 4th season. But the last 2 seasons were not complete.
His first 2 seasons too, though, like the first season was impressive, and the second season, he was pushing 50 plus points. And then there's the COVID shortened season where I think he's easily putting up over 50 points that year. And then this past year, obviously we only had a 56 game season, and that was a season where Ralph Kruger really kind of, sorry kids, cover your ears, cut his nuts off, and didn't let him showcase the skills that got him drafted first overall to begin with. Another comment here. Sorry, do you fellas ever come down to the Rochester for Amherst games? Steve, I know that's a question you want to answer because I'd love to get down to the Rock to watch some Amherst hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to go. It's just a matter of finding it. You guys don't have a lot of Saturday games, so I just got to find someone who's also getting off work at 5 on a Friday, wants to dip over to Rochester real quick. I'm a weirdo who just a few months moved here from Philly. I didn't need a car for about a decade, so I don't have one. So I need to find people who are willing to give my ass a ride to Rochester, but I will chip in for gas. So if you're leaving for Buffalo, call me. I will go.
If it's a Monday game, I gotcha. Or a Sunday matinee game, if they do that, I gotcha. I'm off on Sundays and Mondays. Definitely willing to drive down to the Rock to see some Amherst hockey because those boys down there, Jack Quinn, JJ Paterka, they're exciting
when
to watch.
Krebs comes.
Yeah, hopefully. Or Bryson. That's another name that was thrown
Brisson?
around.
Yeah.
Brisson, sorry. I'm thinking Jacob Bryson. Yeah, Brisson. Pat Brisson's actual son, who is also the agent of Jack Eichel.
Sorry, son. Yeah. I had to use you as collateral.
Yeah. Honestly, I heard around the rumor mill that Kevin Adams, he is on the broadcast stating he was in Michigan this past week, and one of the rumors that were going around is he actually wanted to get a better look at this kid, which would be exciting. He's a first round pick in this last year's draft, 29th overall by the Vegas Golden Knights. I personally, I think I might like him a little bit more than Krebs. He's having a phenomenal season right now with Vegas. I believe he has 6 goals in 7 games, which again, I know that team is a powerhouse, but I mean, that's impressive. Absolutely impressive playing in the Big Ten. 6 goals in 7 games.
Yeah, I just think it'd be a good thing to have 3 people in the core of your future that all played for the same team in college. Brisson would be the forward, Power would be in defense, and Ports would be in the net. Like that kind of camaraderie just coming straight into the locker room. Like the rest of the team's going to feed off that energy, and it's just going to be a bunch of go blue homies. People are just going to, I don't know, man. I think that's even more so than just the skill on the ice. I think that's just going to create that's going to bring that winning culture in that, might be lacking from the people who've been playing on this team and all of its many different variations in the past few seasons, because it's been bad and then it's been really bad. It's getting better. It's definitely not perfect. It's definitely not playoff contender worthy, but we're in a I never want to say it too soon because this is Sabres. but I think we're in a much better place than we were like January of last year. I feel so much better about turning on my TV and watching the Buffalo Sabres play hockey than I did back then. It's like before, I felt like going to the DMV. Like, oh god,
yeah,
what fresh hell do we have?
I agree, and
today?
that's a Donnie Meatball, Don Granato effect. I really believe it. I think that guy is, I don't like to make comparisons to other head coaches, but when I think of Ted Nolan, not because they're the same coach or they run the same systems or schemes, but because Ted was the type of guy that got the most out of mediocrity. And what I mean by that is he would get his team to skate through a wall for him. And in both stints, he was here. That's exactly what he did. He had in my opinion, a below average team with Buffalo the first time around, but he got those guys that play outside themselves. And you had the best goalie that ever lived in net and Dominic Hasek. And the second time around, the tank team, I mean, I remember watching all those games. They weren't a team that laid down. They weren't. They would not lay down. They played with chips on their shoulders because they believed that they were brought in to lose. And they made it very, very interesting for most of the season about whether or not Buffalo was going to finish in last, which is what Tim Murray wanted, in the McDavid-Eichel draft. But that's kind of what you see in Don Granato. These guys are prepared every single night. You never have to worry about a lack of trying because they skate hard every night, which is something that we consistently had to question under Ralph Kruger. So yeah, that's what the biggest thing is. You're excited to watch Sabres hockey again. Pair of pictures again. Pair of map pictures. Once the college season is over, you guys eyeing any college free agents? I'm definitely going to take a look at that. I'm not familiar with all the names, but I will say if that is something you want us to check out, Matt, is subscribe to the Two Goalies One Mic YouTube page and obviously on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our Twitter page, however you listen to your podcast. And if you want, we will cover that in one of the next couple episodes. We'll get a look at the college free agent list and see what's out there and how those guys are playing for sure. So, yep. Yeah. And just some more comments here. Could you imagine having 3 Michigan guys? Absolutely. It's a very exciting thing to think about.
That would be beautiful.
Any Michigan Wolverines players this year would be great. Try to get Seattle. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I think he's a guy they're going to try and build their team around.
You'd have to give him a pretty big tentacle for that.
Yep. And then add Ryan Johnson you guys are getting greedy, but I love it.
We already have those 2 guys. We don't need it.
I know we have them, but I mean,
ooh, yeah.
I'll bring them all up at once. Let's let them develop. Donnie Meatballs is the man. Absolutely. I wanted Beniers over Powers just due to Eichel leaving. I can agree to that. You do want to try and fill in that center position. I was a big Marco Rossi guy over Jack Quinn. I still think I would have taken Rossi over Quinn 100%. I think he's a very unbelievable two-way center. He reminds you a lot of Patrice Bergeron. So, and same down 2000. Man, you guys are really tearing it up with the comments. 2004 we were just on the cusp of making a playoff run. I think Murray nixed that for the draft. I don't think that sat well with Ted. I agree. Ted was definitely a guy who wanted to compete. He didn't want to be brought in to lose, and that you saw that in the team every night. They wanted to win. With that being said, just to wrap things up here, some out of town scores or for tonight right now. Senators and Wild are tied at 4 in the third period. Jets over the Stars in the third period, 3-1. Predators over the Flames, 2-1. Canucks and the Rangers are just underway, knotted at 0. Same thing with the Ducks and Devils. A lot of teams on their West Coast trips this weekend out of the East. Predators over the Flames in the second period, 2-1. And I believe, games that I believe actually, I think Toronto. Yep, Toronto shut out the Golden Knights 4-0. Really feeling it with that injury bug that's bitten them. Jack Campbell with the shutout. I'm a big Jack Campbell fan, even though I hate the Leafs. Glad to see him get a shutout and trying to earn that big contract. And then finals today, Flyers over the Coyotes 3-0, and the Canadiens finally win another game 3-0 over the Red Wings. And last comment here, has anyone seen Darren play in the USHL yet? I know he's going to UNH next year. again, I have to check that out. I'll definitely make a point of that. Write it down right now, actually, to check that out and bring it up on our next stream.
There are a lot of leagues, and that does bring me to a little quick side tangent. That big Proto Poltapov, that fun Russian that kind of looks like O'Doyle from Billy Madison. He signed a extension with the KHL that I don't think ends until the 24-25 season.
Yep.
And from the language of those contracts, it's kind of hard to just buy him out and have him come back this way. So it sounds like at least for the next 3 or 4 years, our boy Poltapov is going to be over there out in Russia. Whether or not he shows up, not sure. But if he does show up, usually those Russian players, they just hit the ground running. They're day one. They just jump right into it. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that contract that entry-level deal would need to be signed within the next 3 to 4 years, or maybe it's a different scenario with Russian players. Maybe that like kind of like deadline to sign your ELC. I feel like that's kind of like, yeah. Let me look that up here.
Yeah, I do believe Carey Price is due to return at the end of the week, which is big news for Montreal fans. I mean, not that I would necessarily blame Jake Allen in the goaltending, but Carey Price, I mean, having him in net makes a world's difference. When he's at his best, he's one of the best goalies, if not the best goalie in the world. So that's a big Poltapov and other Russians all said they would come over after Sardinian was here. They are all friends and are going to live together. That's fun to hear.
I mean, that sounds fun.
Yeah, right.
So, if
the Russian hockey house?
2024, 2025, 4 years from now.
Maybe Ovi can be the landlord. That'd be fun, right?
Ovi moves to Buffalo just to let those kids live here. They all get a place in Amherst.
You live out in front of me. But that again, we have puck drop here in less than 10 minutes. So wrap it up real quick. Score prediction from you, producer Steve. What are you feeling for tonight?
Well, Reimer's been playing real good. Anderson's been playing real good. So it's tough to say who's going to break through scoring-wise, particularly with COVID outages for the Sharks and Golofsson not doing any goaling. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough. But I do think that Buffalo can get the offensive edge just based on the fact that Brent Burns is their top defense. I just feel like that defensive core is a lot weaker than Buffalo's. So I'm hoping that this one ends like 3-1 in favor of Buffalo.
Yep. We got Paramat 4-2 Buffalo. Under Let's Go Buffalo. My prediction will be, I do predict a Buffalo victory to get them to 6-2-1. But I'm going to, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a higher scoring affair. I think it's going to be a really loose hockey game. I'm going to say 5-4. Maybe we'll get a few goals from Dylan Cousins. Maybe get Dahlin on the board, which would be nice to see. Get him up, get his wheels going again. But with that being said, this pregame show is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. What's your outlet? The place to buy a case. And I got 3 words for you guys. Let's go, Sabres.
Let's go.